Right, a bit of a late night video on this RD400. I'll try and keep it short and sweet. The bike's been into us for a general overhaul. It had a few issues and bits and pieces that the customer gave us on a sort of crib list. General full engine service. It had a habit of chuffing when it was first started. Tyres, we've changed. It had very modern profile tyres on, very modern types of tyres. The profiles didn't quite match the bike, and the customer said that when he was riding it, if he gave the handlebars a bit of a wobble, it didn't settle down very quickly. It carried on wobbling a little bit. We've put the Dunlop K82 tyres on, which are really good profile, and they've got a really nice tread pattern. They sort of suit the era of the bike really well. We found a few issues while we were working on it, as you'd expect as we go through bikes of this sort of age. This swinging arm bolt here was tight, but not tight enough, so it had a little bit of play in the swinging arm. The brakes have been overhauled. We found that the front disc had a warp in it, so this is a brand new replica disc. New pads in the front. It's got the sintered EBC, which is the first time I fitted them into an RD of this era, but I've been told that they work really well once they've settled in. Had new rear disc pads. Electrically, we were trying to find out what this chuff might be, so we had all the electrics out all the way through. We've gone round and greased and cleaned every connector we could find on the bike. They do have a bit of a known prone issue. I've been running it a few minutes ago, so I left the fuel on, but underneath here, underneath the bottom of the airbox, is where all the wiring comes up from the engine, from the generator unit here and the CDI, and they all meet under there in a boot. It can get a bit sort of damp under there, it can get a bit of corrosion under there, so all those connectors are a good point to take apart. Behind the fuse box panel, we've had all the fuses out, we've had everything lubricated and cleaned up. We haven't had the instance of this sort of chuff coming back to us, but it didn't do it before we started the bike, and it hasn't done it since. What we're hoping is that something that we've done to it as we've been through the bike has found and sorted that anyway, because we did find quite a few just little issues, setup issues. We've had the carburetors completely apart, checked that all the jetting and everything in the carburetors suits this model of bike, because they often get mixed up and moved around. It came into us, the customer wasn't absolutely certain that the fuel tap was the right way around. There's a filter unit in here which takes off main and reserve, and if you can put it in the wrong way around, your main and reserve are the wrong way around. Check that. Underneath here, I've put as everybody will know with these RDs, they have this crossover pipe at the front of the fuel tank. It's to balance the fuel level out in the two saddles of the tank. I've put a split link, a quick or dry brake, or well, it's called a dry brake basically. Now this is one of the aluminium bodied ones. You probably can't see it very well under there without the torch on. I can't switch the torch on when I'm videoing, but it's complete split dry brake, and it's solid bodied metal rather than the plastic ones that you get off the internet, which are okay to a point, but they do tend to go brittle and try and break, especially with the heat from the engine coming up at them. The aluminium ones, they're not a cheap option, but they're a really good option, motorsport spec item. And that's pretty much it, I think, going through it. We found this fork seal was blown, the right hand side fork seal. It had leaked down the inside and it had got onto the disc and the pad, so that was another reason. We would have been changing them anyway, but that was just an extra reason. So fork seals have been done. Let's see how we start. There we go. Runs really nicely, runs really evenly. I can guarantee that the camera microphone is picking up a rattly sounding engine, but it's not. It's actually lovely and quiet sounding. Just the camera phones, they pick up everything. Been out for a good few test rides on it, just done some miles on it, making sure everything's set and ready to go. And it's going back to its owner tomorrow morning. Inside the unit, at the end of this week, we have the new mezzanine going in. So I'm getting as many bikes as I can out of the unit. We're making as much space as we can, and over the bank holiday weekend, my job is going to be shifting and clearing shelving. So hopefully by the time I've done all that, and we're reopened again after the bank holiday on the Tuesday, we'll be good and ready to go. You can tell how dark it is, how bright the headlight's shining up on the camera. It really is late evening, but sometimes you've just got to do a few late nights. So yeah, by next week there should be an awful lot of changes, and I'll video a few of those as we go along.